Hello there. In this video we're going to cover the basics of using an equalizer in mixing orchestral music. I have already loaded my template and a single track, a single instrument track. If you want to create this kind of basic orchestral template, I have an entire course on udemy.com. I will post a link in the description. Let's go ahead. I have this piece of horns here. Let's have a listen. This horns instrument is a single track, comes from my Dreamlords single. It's this part here, and this is a pre-mixed and even incomplete version of the track. I will post a link to this track in the description as well. Let's have a listen. Let's load an EQ plugin. Let's go to FX and Pro. What was it? This one. This is Pro Q, the third version by FabFilter, but you don't have to use this particular one. Most EQs, like EQ. Most EQs look the same way. Let's have a look at this very basic EQ that is pre-installed in Reaper DAW. In most equalizers, you have this frequency chart, frequency diagram, where you can actually change the frequencies of the sound. Equalization is the process of changing the frequencies of the sound. These kind of diagrams display a range from 50 hertz to about 20,000 hertz, and the left side usually describes the lower frequency sounds, like a deep bass, and the right side display describes the high frequency sounds. You can create various bands, which basically means you can create points on this line here to change the frequency of the sound. You can click, hold, and manipulate these points, these bands, to change the frequencies. So this is a Reaper, built-in Reaper equalizer. Let's take a look at the FabFilter, because in my opinion it looks more user-friendly. Most equalizers will look the same way. Here again you can see the range of frequencies. In this case, not the lowest one is the 20 hertz, and the highest one is 20,000 hertz. You also this is the vertical scale. The horizontal scale, sorry, the vertical scale shows how loud the sound is in decibels. Basically, in the process of equalization, you either increase the volume of the sound or you decrease the volume of the sound. When you decrease the volume of the sound, in this case I have made a decrease by 8.20 decibels. When you decrease the volume of the sound, you cut the frequency, so it is not so audible. And when you increase the volume of the sound, you boost the frequency, so it is more pronounced. You can hear it better. You can create various bands depending on the software you're using, and there are various types of cuts and boosts that you can do. In this case, this is a bell shape, so we increase around this part of the sound spectrum. We can then increase the range, so we can increase the greater amount of the sound frequencies, or we can decrease the amount of the sound we want to affect by changing the size of this bell. You can also make different kinds of shapes, and for example, here is a low cut, where you can actually cut out everything on this left side. So any sound here, it will be so decreased in volume that it will not be audible at all. This is how you clear the frequencies entirely. You can do this the other way around. So these frequencies, these low frequencies, will be audible, but everything higher than about 900 Hertz will not be audible. You can use this shape, lower these frequencies, cut these frequencies and boost these frequencies. Most FabFilter Pro Q is a very user-friendly when it comes to interface. That is why I prefer to use it. Basically, every equalizer will show you this frequencies range, the volume range in decibels, and will display informations about what you're actually doing. In this case, we have the Q factor, which tells us about the range, how wide the range of frequencies we are affecting. It will tell us how much boost or cut there is. In this case, we are boosting the volume of this frequency by over 3 decibels, and it will tell us around what part of hertz, the frequency spectrum, we are affecting the sound. So here we are affecting the sound around 200 hertz, here about 67 hertz, and here about 3000 hertz. In VAQ, the change is a little bit different. Here we can see this little pop-up window that says band 3 boost by over 4 decibels and so on. Here as well we can affect the range of the frequencies we are affecting. We can make boosts and cuts. And in case of ReEQ, we have this. We can change these bands. We can add new bands by double clicking, just like in FabFilter. And we also have the same kind of data FabFilter displays us. In this case, we have it's more primitive interface that tells us that we have what kind of frequency we are changing, how much gain there is, or how much boost or cut there is, and the Q factor, in this case it is called the bandwidth. So we can affect the size, the range of the frequencies we are affecting. So it is more slider based in this case, but it works the same, and we can also change the type of the type of the band we are using. All right, let's we have this track here, and let us hit the play button and see what shows up. Sorry. Okay. In both cases, you have noticed that there is a kind of dynamic wave pattern showing up. This pattern shows the actual frequencies in the instrument. Notice the limited amount of low frequencies on the left, and a lot more active frequencies from around 200 Hertz up to 20,000. Very little frequencies, a lot more frequencies. We're not going to cover what kind of frequencies to boost or cut in orchestral music in this video. So we're only covering the basics of working with EQ. Let's see how we can cut the frequencies. I'm going to delete. I just noticed the second EQ was on. Let's have a listen without it. Okay, so basically the information is still there. Anyway, let's do something practical. Let's get rid of these low frequencies at all. Let's get rid of them entirely. I have created a band to affect these particular frequencies. I'm going to change the type of the band to a low cut, and I'm going to make it a bit more steeper so that I can affect a lot of this. I'm going to turn the piece off, turn the track on, and move this piece around so I can decide at what point of frequency spectrum I want to make a cut. Notice. The band is already affecting the track. These low frequencies are a little bit more transparent, which the graphical interface tells us they are being cut off. They are not audible. I have made this cut around 130 Hertz, and I've made a complete cut, so this part is not audible at all. Right here. Notice. Now I have moved the piece, the band entirely a lot further to the right, so it's around 4000 Hertz. Everything below it, below 4000 Hertz, is cut out. It is not audible. That's how you work with EQ. Everything else is just the amount of changes you are willing to make. So this is a lot of change. I don't want it. Let's go back to hear the rest of the instrument. Okay, so we've dealt with the low frequencies. They are cut out, and in most cases in orchestral music or any kind of music mixing, you want to cut out, remove completely the low frequencies, and only the amount of these frequencies depends on the instrument, on the genre. Sometimes you cut everything below 1000 hertz, sometimes you cut things only below 40 hertz, and so on. You do this because there is a lot of mud, low frequency sound that builds up if you have a lot of instruments, and you don't want it because it's going to muddy your mix. Let's see what will happen if we boost this horns instrument on somewhere around the upper spectrum. You can hear how the sound changes. If you have a lot of instruments, you equalize all of these instruments to make sure the balance of the entire track is achieved, so that you hear the instruments that are leading the melody, for example, and you clean the instruments that build up unwanted frequencies, so that they do not affect the track in a negative way. That's what the EQ is for. The best way to find the frequencies you do not want is to boost them with a rather narrow spectrum bell, and look for them. Let's find the mid frequencies for, in this case, in case of these horns, by doing this trick. I'm going to play the track, boost the frequency, and move it around to look the frequencies I do not want in my track. I said I don't want the frequencies around 340 hertz. They sound a little bit roomy to me. So I'm going to now change the range, the Q factor, to see how much of these pieces I want to affect. About this will be fine. I have located these frequencies I don't want in my horns track. So now I'm going to lower this bell curve to cut the frequencies. And notice that I can how the sound is changed when the EQ is turned on. it is a little bit less roomy. The amount of how much you decrease the volume of the sound depends on the instrument, the amount of frequencies you want to cut out. I decided to cut the low frequencies by 10 decibels. And notice how these upper frequencies are cut out, and the track sounds a little less roomy. I'm going to turn off the FAB filter off and on so you can hear the difference. Hopefully my desktop recording software records these subtle changes. In case of a single track, they are not that pronounced, but when you have 50 or 100 orchestral tracks, all of this adds up. Notice that I have made 2 cuts in frequencies, but I can also make a boost like this, and let's do this while the track is playing. And I've made a boost in the upper frequencies, just as a demonstration, because in most cases you do not want to boost the frequencies, you want to cut the frequencies you do not want. When you do so, when you cut these frequencies, then the frequencies that are not affected by the cuts will be more pronounced. But this is a matter of mixing and a matter for another video. Let's summarize. Most EQs have 2 scales: the horizontal one that tells us about the frequency spectrum of the sound, and the vertical one that tells us the volume of the sound. You can create various bands on the EQ to affect various ranges of frequencies, and this changes the sound of the instrument. In most cases, you use the equalization to cut the frequencies that are unwanted, and sometimes you can boost the frequencies that you want to be more pronounced. These are the basics of working with an EQ. Hopefully this was an understandable and educational video. We're going to cover more EQ in further videos, where in which I'm going to guide you through my own process of equalizing and mixing a basic orchestral track. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of videos, and if you want to support me and this channel, I have linked a couple of my educational materials down in the description. Thank you.